Okay, so looking at the manual here, this shows all the different I/O connections that go to the motherboard: power switch, reset switch, hard drive activity light, and whatnot. But one thing I noticed that's actually really interesting. This is actually a really cool case. Um, they have little fan receivers here, and essentially what these do, these connect to the front I/O. You plug your case fans or your radiator fans or whatever else into here, and if you take a look at the front here, it's got a little fan light. Now that fan light, I believe it just is like a 2 or 3 step process where, you know, one click, slow, medium, or fast, or just low and fast. So that's really actually a neat option that they have here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the fans to that. So what you have to do essentially for this particular one is grab one of the SATA cables, the extra SATA cables from the power supply pack. Some of them had like 3 or 4 SATA connectors on it, and I love the option that they have here, that they have some cables with just 2, because you know, if you're just hooking up, say, one thing, you don't want 4 different connectors on one cable. It kind of just adds clutter for no reason. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna add it right into one of the SATA cables here, or the SATA receivers on the power supply. And what we do is, from the front end, this is actually what powers the management of those fans and the fans themselves. So you just want to plug it in to the SATA connector. Now this will give power to all the fans and give you the ability to control the speed. It's actually a really nice option. You won't be able to get a fan readout on how fast the fan is going, most likely, since it doesn't have a 4-pin power connection. Those are called PWMs. A lot of times at 3 pins you can't really tell what speed it's going unless you have like an independent fan speed measure. But for this is actually going to work pretty well. So obviously, if I was going to make this a final build and I was not going to water cool it or anything, I would hide all these cables nicely, make it look all clean and nice. But for the fact that we're just testing, it'd be kind of a waste of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start connecting these fans here. So these are the front fans for the case. That looks like they're all independently moving for each cable. So I just kind of make sure they're lined up. I'm trying to put this on here. Okay, there's one. Let's do another here. This is actually a really neat option. Okay, there's another one. And let's do the back fan. Now, if you'll notice here, this case from the factory, it comes with 2 fans in the front and 1 fan in the rear. Now, that is by design as well. You want to have at least 1 less exhaust fan than you do intake fans. Now, this back one's an exhaust fan. These front 2 are intake fans. So what that does is, if you have 1 less exhaust fan, it creates positive pressure inside the case when it's closed. And what that does in turn is it totally reduces the amount of dust that builds up inside of the case by having a positive pressure inside the case. So we're going to keep it like that. And now, obviously, like I said, if this was a final build or something, I'd clean this up really nicely and hide all the cables behind the motherboard, but we're just going to tuck them all down in this central area here. Now let's go on to the actual inputs here for the motherboard headers. The motherboard actually included this little guy here, which is really nice for labeling purposes. It is a riser for the pins. It does make it come out a little bit further than normal, so technically you could probably just use this as a guide. So since you can see what's labeled on here, you just want to match it up. This is the equivalent right here, is this set. so this will actually slide on like that. So technically you could just use it as a guide, but for the purpose of this video we're just going to actually connect them to the ones they say right on here and then just slide it over. So a lot of times people, first time builders, like this is where they'd get confused on how to make this all work. But nowadays they're so well labeled you can't really screw it up. Before, I mean, you'd have no assistance at all. You kind of sometimes see some symbols printed on the motherboard. Other times it was only in the manual, and you actually had to know what you're doing at that time. So essentially, let's take a look at this. These are the hard drive LEDs. So just match up the hard drive LED. You look on the back end here, there's a little arrow right there. The arrow is what signifies the positive side of the connection, and the one without the arrow is the negative. So we're just going to connect that there. So let's see, next is the power. There's the power switch. So look on the back side, yep, arrow, and you got power, ground. Yep, so that'll work. So it looks like they have this actually set up so the print is facing outwards, so you can't really screw it up. There's the reset switch, reset ground. So arrow, yep. So these are all forward facing. And let's see, the last two should be power LEDs, just to signify that the power's on. PLED, that's what that stands for. So we want the positive on the positive. And then the negative, the ground. Okay, and that's that. They're secured down. Okay. So now what we're going to do is just look at the manual, and as you can see here, it looks like the hard drive light, power switch, and reset switch is on the bottom side of the pins, the bottom towards the lower part of the motherboard. So we know which way this goes. So just look at the pin configuration, you can kind of tell. So let me just slide these over. And that's that. Now this next one here, let's see. This is a USB 3.0 cable. This is what gives your front USB 3 ports to work. And this is actually right up on here. Want to back it up again. Yep, support the back of the motherboard while you press down so you don't put too much pressure on it. Let's see what else we got here. Looks like audio cable. So this is the front audio jack connector right here. Okay, so you basically just want to look at the pin configuration. You can see where the one is blocked or missing. So then you want to look. Our power or our front audio's here, so there's the pin that's missing. That goes up top. Just slide her on. Okay, and that's on there nice. Let's see what other ones we got. We got any other connectors here? What's this guy? Oh, a USB. Okay. So these just regular USB 2.0 connection. As you saw, the USB 3.0 is much bulkier. These just go right inside of these ones here. Either one, doesn't matter. Some cases will have options for two, some just one. So I think we're good. I think that's everything. Yep. So we just got an extra fan connector here, which is nice. And technically, you could probably put in another like a splitter for this and split the connection even more. As long as the front end could handle it, it might be something worth trying. So that's that. Okay. Now lastly, we are going to install the video card.